Welcome to Use Your Words podcast, where we believe in intelligently spoken conversations. So you know, and I will admit, like I said, another I can talk or not, yeah, or not. Welcome to another episode of Use Your Words podcast. I'm Paul and joined by Aaron. Thank you for coming back and listening, even though my ability to speak English is at an all-time low in this world. Although today I might be okay because I am joined by Aaron, who recently had Billy push back in him. Yeah. And now he's on the energy drink, Mountain Dew, and his painkillers. So we just added 2 uppers and a downer. So this might get interesting. And the thing is, you're hearing him do his little voices and all that. Well, the sad thing is, I don't know if it's sad or good or what, but he only took the medicine like 10 minutes ago. So you're not hearing the medicine yet. You're just hearing
this is me.
Aaron being Aaron. So, yes. Wow, I am already starting off and unable to talk English. Wow. So yes, thank you again for tuning in, listening. And 2021 is just continuing to barrel along like like an exploding barrel full of monkeys that are flying as everyone's waving a flag going, "Ooh, the circus is down."
It's been chaotic. Yes, for a start.
But entertaining to watch from the sidelines at the same time. That's why I said an exploding barrel full of monkeys as they're flying off and everyone waving flags going, "Wee!" Because you feel sorry for the monkeys, but you also like to see the explosion happening. You're like, I want to see the best. And then it ends in blood splattered everywhere as monkey guts are everywhere. And then you're like, oh, this isn't fun anymore.
Oh, now I'm sad.
The splattered monkey guts are the guts of the U.S. Constitution all over the floor, torn to shreds.
That's inciting violence, Paul. Be careful.
No, it's not inciting violence. It's a false. Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's whatever and going on. But regardless, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about monkeys or
the
explosions or Congress.
I mean, you could technically talk about Congress, I guess.
But yeah, I'm not here to talk about any of that today.
Okay.
No, we're here to talk about something Aaron wants to talk about.
Okay.
Why do you always get like surprised when I say something like that?
Well, it's because it's like, I guess I brought it up, but I don't know what to talk about for.
But you brought up the topic.
I did. Yeah, that's where I always go wrong. See, I'm already regretting it.
Oh, wow. Okay, are you sure you're not? Let me pull off your mask. Make sure you're not Josh in disguise.
That will hurt. That's only my beard.
That's okay. That's okay. So yes, as Aaron so horribly tried to joke, I guess. Funny, haha, no. We want to talk about regret this week. And that's a weird topic to talk about because you look at it and you're like, why would I want to talk about regret? So, and I look at it as kind of this way. This is kind of like part 1 of 2. Hey, look at that. Another 2-parter this month, really. We'll see if these will officially be 2-parters. They may or may not, but regardless of, even if they aren't, they are so tightly integrated and intertwined with one another that they might as well be a 2-parter in and of themselves. So we'll see how life goes on. Mm-hmm. We'll see how the conversation flows, I guess, is really what it comes down to. But regret is one of those things that as a young person, and here's where maybe some of that life difference between me and Aaron will come into play, is that regret is different when you're younger versus when you're older. Like when you're younger, like, and even younger than Aaron's age, like you're in your teens, you're like, I regret not getting that car. I regret not asking her out to the prom because she's the prom queen. I regret not joining the softball team. I regret not getting the frozen custard and instead getting the fat-filled ice cream. I don't know how that ends up being a young kid's voice or whatever. I'm not a voice actor. Leave me alone. I regret that immediately.
What a great start.
So regret is different when you're young, because young, you're looking at things that you regret in the very immediate short term narrative. You know, you regret, you know, your choice of color of the car that your daddy bought you for your 16th birthday. You regret, you know,
I never got an orange one.
I'm sorry, Mr. Privilege.
Oh!
You know, you regret those things. You don't now. To be fair, and I will admit, there are some people who have the big long-term regrets, even at short age. You know, I regret becoming a father at the age of 14. You know, sort. Right. I'm not a father at 14. I'm just saying. Yeah. You know, there are people who do that, and then at first they might regret it, and then later go, "This was, you know, a thing I didn't want at the time, but now, you know, maybe as they've matured themselves, they're like, this is awesome." Now, right. I'm not advertising everyone go out and become parents at the age of 14 no. Yeah. Marriage first, then the kids.
That's the smartest way to go.
Unless you're single and you just want to adopt or foster, then cool, go for it. You know, whatever. Mm-hmm. But don't be like, oh, look, we're 14 kids. I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry. That's how it worked in the olden times. You know, when people lived maybe to the age of 30. You know, 30s was the old age.
Crazy. So how does that work?
It was just disease, and they didn't have modern medicine like they did.
Oh, I know. But then you have people like, with Abraham and
that lived hundreds of years.
Yeah,
like, I know.
How does that work?
Well,
that's crazy.
There's multiple theories on how that happened. You know, that, you know, up until a certain point, you know, maybe the atmosphere was different, and you know that. And then it blocked UVB rays and kept, you know, people a lot able to live longer than that. There's various theories on how that is.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of those things I chalk up to. I have to ask God when we get there.
So how did you make this work?
Yeah. But outside of, you know, the Old Testament examples of where people lived hundreds of years at the very beginning, you know, let's talk like Mary and Joseph time, you know, Jesus day and age. Yeah. You know, when people live in 30s, 40s, it was like they were old.
Yeah,
you know, I'd be an ancient person if I was back then.
I mean, I try to think, like, if I didn't have any of like the medical help that I have today, I'd be dead already.
Oh yeah, me too. So, yay to medicine letting us live longer.
Yes, I guess.
So, okay, back on track. Yes. So, like I was saying, I'm not advocating for people, you know, to go become parents at a very young age, but I'm just saying, you know, a regret that you might have at a young age, as you get older, might turn into a non-regret, which is weird to think about, because you're like, oh, I learned things from it, but you can still regret it. But
but you can see the benefits of it.
Yeah,
things that you've learned and whatnot from that happening.
Now,
go on.
Oh,
I was because I mean, I have a coworker that had a kid at a younger age. I mean, not like super young. He wasn't 14. He was older than that, but I mean, still like a rather young age for someone to have a kid and stuff like that. And I mean, because I mean, that adds a responsibility, you know, to your life that, well, you're never really ready for in the first place anyways, but to a point, right? Well, I don't know. Can you be ready for that, really?
Some people will say they're ready, and then some people just freak out when they're like, oh, I'm going to be a parent.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's always going to be some kind of curveball out of, you know, getting thrown your way. I mean, I can't imagine my parents thinking that I would be as stupid expensive of a kid as I have been before they had me.
Yeah, I don't think any parent would ever expect their kids to be crazy expensive.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know, I just hate being down in this room right now. But because it reminds me of how expensive I am, have been. But I mean, seeing his, you know, he's got a good relationship with his kid and stuff like that. So it's, again, yeah, it was like he doesn't regret it, as you would say, but because he's definitely learned a lot, especially being a father and stuff like that. And
right.
So, but I mean, again, as Paul said, don't go out and having kids at a young age. Be smart. Don't do it. It also hurts the bank account a lot too. So
really, it hurts the bank account a lot. You don't say.
Yeah, it does. No, we had this a guy come by the house and he was picking something up for my dad, and he was talking about his child support bills and stuff like that. And he says it literally takes up half of his paycheck for just child support. And I was like, oh man. I was like, that's a lot of money. Granted, I don't know what his job is, but nor do I care.
Yeah. But and people that when child support and all that comes into play, there's a whole host of situations that may lead to that happening, So that's a very broad topic to put it lightly.
That's how I like my topics.
I figured as much because that's just who you are, Mr. Johnson.
I'm a broad person.
No comment. So you have all that, and it's just like, man. And here's what I've learned, and you could tell me if your thoughts on this are different or not. When I think about stuff that I regret, and there are various things that I do regret that I've done in my life. All of them typically have like a little tinge of shame attached to them, almost. Like, I can't believe I was that dumb to do that, because I regret that. And it depends on what that item is, that I did. But also at the same time, I'm trying to look at it. I'm trying to look at it and say, okay, yes, I screwed up royally, but at the same time, I have learned considerably how to do things better in my life because of it. It's one of those upside, downside, good things, bad things.
Bittersweet.
Yeah, the bittersweet, exactly. And I'll be honest, there's some things I look back that I still say, yes, I regret doing. Because you're not going to catch me saying I don't regret doing them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I can at least laugh at them now. So I think that's an important piece of it, is you can regret doing something, but not look on it and just cringe and shut down.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's how you learn from it as well then.
Right.
Because instead of you just going, I don't see anything. I'm putting my blenders on. I'm going to sit here and go ahead and rock back and forth. No one can see me. Life is good.
And then you look even more crazy.
Yeah. And I'll admit, when I was younger, that's how I would, and this is one of the things I regret, is I would throw stuff off to the side. I would not actually try to, handle it directly. I would be like, just kind of be like, blinders up. Yeah. No one's going to know, just do this, whatever. And looking back on that action and how I do things, how I used to do things, it's like, wow, that was ridiculous. That was not good that I was doing it that way. And I look back at it, I'm like, I can't believe that used to be how I would do things. And obviously I learned from it.
Right.
But it takes being able to look back at those things that I regret doing objectively and say, wow, I was an idiot. Yes, I regret doing it, but what can I learn from it now?
Right.
Now, that being said, some of the stuff that, I regret doing, that helps shape how I handle things going personal, going further.
In the future.
Going personal. Going further.
We're getting personal in here.
Oh, we can.
Oh, yeah. Who knows? I might. I don't know.
So that's how I continue looking forward on things with that. And it's just like, yeah, cool. Because, I look back to when I was a teenager. There's not much that I did as a teenager that I look, maybe in my 20s, I looked back at stuff in my teenage years and said, man, I regret doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I regret not, trying to be more outgoing or whatever. But now I look at it and I'm like, there's nothing from my teenage years I don't regret. Because I guess you could say my mindset has changed. So over years, the things I do and don't regret have changed, which is odd to say, if that makes sense. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if you've had anything that over time you look back and say, I used to regret that, but I don't regret that.
Right. Well, yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
There's one. No, this is a very stupid example. Sorry.
Okay.
But there is one thing that it's weird. It's like I do regret it, but I don't regret it.
Okay.
And because I mean, I regret trading in the Ducati and the other Harley for the one Harley, the big touring bike. I do regret that, and the fact that I really enjoyed having the Ducati to ride around on because it was so much fun. It was so exhilarating and thrilling. But at the same time, I don't regret it. One, because who knows what I could have potentially done to myself on it. Potentially getting too crazy on it. Because it was fun to ride and it was really quick and fast and it wasn't hard to go fast on it, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So in that sense, like it was a smarter decision to get rid of it than it is to have one. As much fun as it was having it, it was smart to get rid of it. And again, I'm going to say it, who knows, probably for the 1,000th time, I do want to get rid of the motorcycle just overall. I don't, but I do. Because I'm trying to think of, as much fun as it is, I don't know, what do you know? I was listening to another podcast, the Holy Ghost Notes with Matt and Tim and stuff, and they were talking about Matt was talking about as being like a drummer, like he had an accident playing soccer with his family, wherever they'd get together. But he's like, what are you like willing to? Pretty much, it's like, what would you give up for something like for him drumming? If he like injured himself doing a sport, should he do that sport where he could injure himself, where that would impact his livelihood, kind of thing?
All right.
And if I want to do music and keep playing music, which granted I've already been in one accident, two accidents.
I'd say the deer ran into you.
Yes, thank you. I feel like one of the first times everyone said that right the first time.
I regret that.
No.
Anyways, go on.
But continuing to, granted, I can get injured in many other ways than riding a motorcycle, but that's just one less way I could get hurt if I get rid of it. So part of me regrets even just getting on a motorcycle because it's so hard to get away from. Because it is so exciting for me and I enjoy it so much. But that's one dumb example of regret, but not regretting it. Gosh, I'm trying to think of anything else as far as regret goes for that example. And I'm trying to think there's probably more stuff that you could talk about before I even get to this thought.
No, go ahead.
But part of me is at a stage where it's how do I put this? It's I regret where I'm at.
You regret where you're at. How do you
currently? But it's you could change where you're going by making better habits or whatever. Because it's if I continue on the route I'm going to regret just everything I've done so far. I feel like.
Why do you say that?
But so now I don't know if this is jumping too far ahead in the conversation or whatever.
Nope.
Because as far as this is the thing. I don't regret getting a lot of the music equipment I've gotten, even though now I'm looking at selling some of it, just because I don't need it. It's just cool to have, and it's for my big thing is I like to have a variety of stuff because then you can have a wide, I guess,
assortment and variety.
Yeah.
Okay. You have options.
Yes, I like options.
Way. Yeah.
But then it's goodness. Even just as I ate a freaking sub, a big old hefty sub from Jersey Mike's. I didn't know anything about. Whatever. You know what? I'm sick of thinking.
And this is Aaron on Uppers and Downers, everyone.
It doesn't even take that.
I know. Anyways, go on.
Because you and I have like talked about like health in the past and stuff like that, and it's like, well, for me, it's like the older you get, the harder it gets to change anything because you're
it does
setting yourself in habits, you know, good or bad. And I am not the best for making good habits, I would say. And it's like, I guess I just don't. I realize a lot of that, and I feel like there's so much I could change, and I'd want to. But it's like, man, I've already gone so far, and it's you kind of have that like you can have the point where it's just too late now. Just keep going, but then everyone's like, oh, it's not too. Well, it's never too late. That whole saying, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just like, do I want to live with regret later, wishing I would have changed things now, or do I just continue to be lazy and then just live with consequences of whatever they may be later on? And it's just like, ugh. So it's like, I don't regret. There's stuff that like I could potentially regret depending on how the future goes. I guess you could.
You want to clarify that?
You could even like, I guess for like getting all this music equipment, like if I don't ever do anything with like music that makes money, like this was all a waste. So I guess at that point I could sell it all, but who knows if it's going to be worth anything at that point. I don't know. So it's just, I feel like, well, one, just investing money poorly, which I mean, I've already done that. I've already been very irresponsible with stuff. So, I mean, there is regret, but then I just don't want it to get worse than it actually already is, I guess. And then just health stuff in general. And I guess you could, like, I always think about school from time to time.
Yeah.
But as things go on, I have less of a wanting to go to school just because I'm afraid of what the education's going to be like, depending on where you go. But then I guess you could, I don't know, like
what do you mean by what it's going to be like?
Well, granted, it's more of a political fear kind of crap.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, like I'm just afraid of what the education is going to be going into it, and it's like, is it going to be worth it? Because I mean, I have friends that have all gone to school and now they're just trying to find a job, and they're in all this debt right now. Which, granted, thankfully, I am fortunate enough to be in a situation where I could not have debt, going through school. But it's like to see all of several friends that have done all this schooling and now like, oh, well, now I'm just trying to find a job. It's like, that kind of sucks to spend all that money and then not have a payout. Granted, not everything happens right away and you don't know what's going to happen, but.
Right.
Ugh. See, I regret even thinking. I just regret thinking now.
Oh, boy.
Because now it hurts the brain.
So
my life is a wild one.
Your life is a wild one, huh?
At least in my own mind, it is. I don't even know if I know what I want to do. Yeah. So what?
Wow, there's a lot to unpack here.
I'm so sorry. Therapy session with Aaron Johnson.
I know. Welcome to my life every day. Oh, geez.
Take it where you want, Paul.
Wow, there's so many ways this could go, and I don't know how to go there first.
So this can be a two-parter.
So, because so the regret about the music equipment and that, because you're almost like afraid of like you doing nothing with it. So
right.
So you're regretting buying it already, and it's like,
yeah. As I look at freaking 12 guitars around me, and a drum set, 3 amplifiers, and 3 like PA speakers.
Yeah, we can set up a little musical round right here in your basement.
Yeah. And random crap in the back that's hiding. Some drums, some cymbals.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That's us how we could set up a little musical round right here.
Yeah.
Fund your education. Just go.
Literally, we could pay for a couple, maybe 2 years, depending on the school.
Yeah. So I mean, here's where this regret.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you would call it, I don't know if I would classify that as regret, as more as along the lines of motivation potential. Because
there's that too.
Because regret is like, when I think of regret, I think of, stuff that I would do when I was younger that was stupid. Like, What? What?
I remember the Aaron was like the pain show. When I was in school. I'm sorry, you say yours first and I can say mine afterwards.
No, continue on. Aaron is the pain show. I'm curious now.
Because this was like, I think like the 5th grade. See, the 5th grade is, I don't know, because I remember, I did talk about it on the whole Bible Belt, the first episode thingy.
Yeah.
But like 5th grade was like the lowest point for me. Did I start that before 5th grade or was it 5th grade? I knew the pain. It was like the pain show or whatever it was. But I would literally go on out on the playground at recess and literally just inflict pain on myself for people's entertainment.
Okay.
So
yeah. Okay, that wow.
Yeah. Now you have another reason why I'm messed up in the head.
And that's regret, you say? Yes?
At this point, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's a regret because
yes.
Woo!
Well, yeah. And it never got like really like bad, I guess, in a sense. I remember one of the teachers coming up to me during recess. She's like, Aaron, she's like, you should really stop doing this because I just find it funny and are laughing at you. Like, stop hurting yourself.
They're not laughing with you, is what
yeah,
she's saying.
Yeah. So I was just like, oh, well, okay. But yeah, so that was that's a time I regret. Although looking back at it, it's hilarious, but it's like, wow. Poor sad little child.
Yeah, that would definitely be a regret because what, you were doing that just for attention?
Pretty much. Yeah. I was like, oh, this is how I can make people laugh and whatnot, and yay, okay. Yeah.
Oh boy.
I've never told you about that, have I?
No.
So what were you gonna say?
Oh, I lost it.
Oh no! See, that's why I didn't want to share.
I lost it.
Dang it!
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry.
That one I would definitely throw in the regret pile.
Yeah, cool.
Because you're doing it for attention, and
right.
Ooh.
So now I regret saying this. No, I'm kidding. No, I don't.
Anyways, what I think I was getting back to, using the stuff. Oh, yes, that's what it was. Because I look at stuff I did when I was younger, with regret. That would be a good example. What you did there,
yeah,
because I was talking about your music equipment, that right. I look at it this way. I don't know if I would say for your music equipment is you're at least attempting something with it.
Kind of, yes.
You're in Skyrat. Well, that was a very affirmative yes.
Yes, it's fun.
Do we have to have a conversation about that off the air?
We could.
Is Skyrat dying?
I mean, at the moment, no. But one of the members was saying he could see it dying off in a few months for how it's going. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me rephrase it. Skyrat might be dying, might not. Don't know. But here's the thing: you're at least trying something right now with it.
Right.
So yes, you have a heavy investment in musical instruments, and I say heavy investment, and I'm trying not to laugh at how thousands of dollars around me right now. You do have that heavy investment in musical instruments, in that. But like I said, at least you're trying something, right? You're being productive with the trying, at least in that. Okay.
Now, not as good as I could be, but
I know, yes. But it's not like you bought it all and it's just sitting here doing
just a decoration.
Nothing. It's not just all dusty, collecting dust. No, some of it. Okay, with the amount of stuff you have down here, some of it is going to be dusty. Okay, let's be honest. Yeah. But for the most part, a lot of it is used in somewhat, even for practice or just for inspiration for stuff. Blah blah blah. Okay, I wouldn't throw too much regret on that barrel.
Well, and that's where it's like, I don't want to put it. It's like I do, but I don't. It depends on what happens in the future.
Yeah. So that's a potential future regret, but it's not a current regret. It's not, I wouldn't throw it as a regret. Now, me personally, what I think of as a regret, when I was a younger man,
You still are a young man. Stop it.
Yeah, I'm almost 40. What are you talking about? Shut up. When and I know I've told you this personally in one-on-one conversations. When I was a younger man, like me in my 20s, something like that, long time ago, on the times that I would spend, like, and this sounds horrible. So yes, judge me however you want. This is past me, not current me. And I'm saying that to everyone else out there listening. I'm like, judge me as much as you want. Don't care. I do care, but at the same time, that's not the me now.
Right.
So that's an old me, different me. I would spend like an entire. This sounds horrible. I have no way of saying it without being a little crude. So,
oh no,
just jump this one up to like PG-13 or plus.
Oh no. Okay.
Like regret I have would be like when I was younger in the 20s and I would spend all day in bed jerking off and watching porn all day.
Oh, right.
I was wasting a day.
Right.
B, I was filling my mind with junk.
Yeah.
C, I was doing nothing productive at all.
Right.
That is a big regret.
Yeah.
Because you know how many days and how much time I wasted in my 20s doing that sort of junk?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't personally, but
yeah, I don't want to add up the time. Nope, thank you. So way too much. Okay.
Right.
Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
so that is stuff that, like, I look back and, like, there's nothing, like, that's pure regret.
Right.
Can I say I learned anything from it? I learned not to do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That motivates me to not do that and return back to that way. So is that a regret? Yes, that's definitely a regret. Other things like, I had various opportunities in college that I never pursued. I kind of regret some of those. But now looking at where I'm at, I'm like,
maybe not.
It's like, it's okay, fine. You know what? It happened, didn't happen. So, at first I was like very much like, I wish I would have done that. But now I'm like, okay, life went on. Yeah. And so those are some of those things that move from, in those cases, that move from regret to non-regret.
Right.
I think about stuff like, and we talked before I hit the record button, like Madison.
Yes.
For you.
Yeah, that first drunk day. Very drunk day.
Like that is a regret.
That was a regret. And then I can never remember if I've ever talked about Idiot Day, the whole Skype call with that one chick.
Okay, I say we've alluded to Idiot Day. We've never actually gone through what happened on Idiot Day.
Okay. Because I know I've talked about I know I've talked about porn and stuff like that, and what a big surprise that is for me.
As I say, what a big surprise that is for any male, especially nowadays.
Right. With
cell phone, a tablet, a computer,
anything that
virtual reality headset.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Because, they make porn that you use a virtual reality headset with now. Whoa. So it gives you a first-person POV.
No way.
No, don't look it up.
I'm not going to. But wow. I guess I'm not surprised. But wow.
We'll talk off the air about something.
Oh, okay. But yeah, Idiot Day was a lovely. I guess it was a Skype call that ended up
a Skype call that could have ended up being embarrassing for you.
Yeah. And I guess, granted, there is always that small, I'm sure it's small. Who knows? I don't know. But like chance of the future impact, but I doubt it. Who knows? But yeah, that whole, I don't know, her screen recording the whole thing and then throwing it back at me like, oh, I'm sending this to all your friends and family and your work. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
That was scary.
So what Aaron is trying to say, and what he had a Skype call with a lovely little lady, and
that was I say unfortunately blurry, but fortunately blurry, because you couldn't really see anything on her. The video quality was so bad; it was kind of pixelated.
Yeah, but somehow she had got good video of you.
Yeah. So that was not the good part. That was the worst part.
Doing something to her photo.
Ish. Well,
Yeah.
So part of me wants to say attempting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah. Anyway, so like I said, what Aaron's trying to skirt around, but I'll just say it. Dude. So Aaron went on a Skype call, jerked off to a video of a woman. She recorded it and blackmailed him with it.
Pretty much.
Or attempted to blackmail.
Yes. It hasn't happened yet that I know of.
Well, and he called me immediately afterwards.
I did.
And,
oh my gosh.
I knew that this was a big thing going around at the time, but I also knew some people were following through with the threat. So I was like, well, just cut all contacts. Don't give them money or anything, or don't do anything. And
just get rid of them. Don't talk to them.
Yeah, don't talk to them. And what were you doing?
Oh yeah. Oh man, that's definitely the biggest idiot moment I think I've ever had. I think, right? Yeah.
There's a reason why I keep that still labeled as Idiot
Day. Yeah. And I hope that is the only Idiot Day, or that is the worst of any Idiot Day. However to say that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. So yeah, that would definitely fall in the regret category. Things of I did that. I kind of regret doing that.
Yes.
I'm just like
big time.
Oh, thankfully, yeah. I can personally say I haven't had anything directly like that, but at the same time, similar. So I get it. It's those are that's why I classify all that into that group of the 20s, or I regret all that, and just I don't want to think about it. B,
right.
I learned my lesson from it, because it was both impacting on me physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Yeah.
Because and here's the thing that a lot of people don't like to talk about. People are like, oh, drugs are bad. Yeah, drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad.
You get addicted to drugs. Well, guess what? Porn is almost like a drug, because you get addicted to the chemicals it releases in your body. And it is not easy to just be like, yeah, we're going to do this cold turkey, because your brain will come back with stuff.
Right.
And my brain comes back with stuff years later. Okay, so I'm almost 40. Mm-hmm. This is in my early to mid 20s that this was, going on for me. And my brain will randomly still just be like, oh, look, here's a random image from back then. It just displayed in full brain digital image, however you want to say that, where I could see it in my mind's eye. I can see it, whatever. Yeah. I could see it in my head. And I'm like, really, brain? Where's this coming from? And it's usually on the day where let's be honest here, I wake up horny or whatever, and I'm like, nope, stop. Away. And my brain's like, here, feed on this. And it's like, go away, brain, stop working against me. I hate you, and I regret that you do this to me. And that happens.
Yeah.
And that's part of why I regret that. And, the things I have learned from that. And that's why, back in the day when I had those conversations with you, I was like, don't do what I did.
Right.
Learn from my mistakes.
See, I like to learn the hard way. Okay.
Apparently, we all do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like that's definitely the best way I learn, which
can be good and can be bad.
Yeah.
Because sometimes learning the hard way
is very bad.
Means you also learn from the mistakes you learn through the pain, instead of listening to someone else say, hey, look, I screwed up this way.
Right.
Learn from my mistakes. I'm older. And then you go, oh, I know everything.
I'll be okay.
Oh, I'm blackmailed. Oh, crap.
Help.
And then I get a call. Yes. What? You did what now? With the what?
And
what? Okay. that was
like a midnight call.
Yeah, that was like midnight, and that was a very interesting conversation to have at midnight.
Yeah. Yeah. You can imagine. It wasn't just you either. Oh gosh. I remember telling the old man too right after that. Oh.
Yeah.
That probably was, he obviously was not expecting that. That threw him for a loop.
And see, here's the thing that This sounds horrible. I know it sounds horrible. But I almost expect that nowadays more and more from our current group of teens in that, because they're growing up in this environment where porn and sexually explicit images are available to them 24/7. In fact, you have whole freaking dating site Tinder, which are based around get a hookup for the night and do whatever. Yep. So that, there's Tinder, there's, and then there's various ones for like if you're gay or whatever. So there's all those other ones. And it's just like, they're not. Oh, and what was it back in the day? Ashley Madison.
Oh,
you remember what that was?
Wasn't that one that had a huge like information like leak?
But thing? what was their like?
It was for affairs.
Yeah, and they had a huge data leak, compromise, and just caused, I'm sure, ruined marriages.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure when that got released, those people are like, I regret going to the site. At the same time, I go, you probably should have regretted wanting to have an affair in the first place, but
right, yeah.
But I can't. This sounds horrible. The only reason I'm alive is because of an affair. So it's like, that's the only reason I was born. So,
so I mean, it can be good but bad. I'm like, wouldn't recommend. But
I'm like,
good things can come out.
Part of me is conflicted. The other part of me is like not conflicted at all. Yeah, I know. It's just weird.
Oh, the world is great.
But it's funny that the only things that we tend to regret, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one for you, okay? So, because this is from me, but the only things that like I tend to regret or people tend to regret in general are when things go bad.
I remember you asking me too. It's like, had you not been caught with the whole Skype call, you asked me, it's like, would you have actually told me this? And I was like, dang, that's a good question. I was like, but like, I mean, I'd want the answer to be yes, obviously, because especially if I'm going to tell you that I looked at porn, I'm going to tell you if I looked at something like that. But like, yeah, but that being on that level definitely does escalate it a lot in the whole seriousness of it.
Yeah.
Gosh dang it! Why? As soon as I start listening to podcasts, like, man, now it's like my mind goes back to a lot of them. Granted, it's only been one, and it's a little bit different. I mean, it is different because it's not about regret. It's about being sorry. Or it was repentance versus remorse.
Okay.
Kind of thing where it's like, okay, are you just sorry that you got caught for doing something, or are you legitimately sorry for doing something kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Good distinction.
So it's like, that is a good point. Because, I mean, yeah, usually, well, obviously, when you regret something, it's because something bad happened. But would you regret it if you got away with it? Yeah. I guess going back to the whole Ashley Madison thing with all those dudes, all those guys that cheated on their spouses, do they regret doing that just because they were caught? Or do some of them legitimately regret doing that because that was an awful thing to do? So, gosh.
Like, I can answer for me, because in all fairness and honesty, unless I told someone about, my 20s, they would probably assume, guy 20s, internet, computer.
He's having fun. Fun.
Did you just say quotes. He's having fun?
Yeah, in quotes.
Wow.
Not really.
He's probably consuming porn in some capacity. Mm-hmm. Or some people who are maybe a little naive are going, oh, he's such a good Christian boy. He would never touch the pornos.
It's funny. And part of me like regrets, oh gosh, conversations about like porn and stuff like that, especially like during high school. Because I remember one girl specifically, like she was a good friend of mine, and this topic kind of came up, and I was like, have you like looked? And I was like, well, yes, and like that, just like she at first at least she couldn't like I guess handle it. She's like, I can't believe that. Like what? Like thinking that some good little Christian boy isn't going to look at porn. I was like, oh man, it's like you're in for a shocker then. But
yeah,
so it's funny how there are people that are like that, how they're like, they can never imagine you. And that's just something I hate that can be tied on to like Christian peoples. Like some people expect them to be the little goody two shoes, never doing anything wrong. Which when we are ones doing a lot wrong. We're still no different than any other human being.
Oh, yeah. And I know we've talked about this before, but 64% of Christian men have admitted to consuming pornography.
Right.
Compared to 65% of non-Christian. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Which it's like, that is so close percentage-wise that it's statistically insignificant.
Yeah.
But as I was getting back to, like, if I was in my 20s, and whatever, people, unless I said something, no one would ever assume that. And, so that's where I kind of draw the line a little bit. It's like, it's almost like, yeah, no one ever called me out necessarily or caught me or anything like that. But yet I still do regret it because it's almost like I caught myself, kind of, self-incriminated myself sort of deal. It's one of those things of where you're conscious when it catches you and says, oh, I did something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it still falls under the, would you feel regret if you never got caught? Well, I caught myself. Okay, yeah, I'm going to still feel regret.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how...
Excuse
me. So that's how I kind of feel with that. And it's just amazing, though. And this is... So I look at this. Regret has both a good and a bad side, from my point of view. And tell me if you think of this differently. It's good because I can look back at some of the stuff that I did and say, ooh, I never should do that again. Never. Right. And it's a motivator to not do that. But at the same time, it's also a bad thing of, I look at it and I have the regret of what I did. Let's go back to my example, porn in the 20s and that. And I go, I am such a stupid idiot. I should never be allowed, And I beat myself up over it. Yeah. Even though that's a thing that's in the past and is not something that is consistent or a quality or something I do now. And so that's where it has both the plus and the negative. It's the plus of, it's a motivator of saying, hey, I don't want to go back to what I did back then because I regret whatever, and that could be, it motivates you, like, hey, I don't want to be just a lazy slouch, so I'm going to go to the gym more. Or I don't want to be lazy and do nothing and just spend my life in video games. So I'm going to spend more time playing, writing music or doing something creative and constructive and maybe limit some of my video game time down. I don't want to, generate that list, whatever. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, to flip it around and say, I'm a lazy slob because all I do is play video games all day. And then you just kick yourself down because of that regret.
Keep yourself there.
Yeah. Then that's where the regret can be the negative. So like anything, regret can be used for both positives and the negatives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, sometimes I wish I would have like different opinions than you for stuff like this, but at the same time I don't.
That's why originally we had brought Josh in.
Right. True. But no, yeah, I'm with, because I mean, as much as you don't want to have regrets in a point, I mean, I think like it's good that you regret stuff. I think it's good to show that you regret stuff, because that means, I guess, to some point you realize that you have done wrong or you can do wrong stuff, which goes to show that you're not a Mr. Mrs. or whatever you are perfect. But then as you said, depending on how you go about it, like if you look at it as a learning experience and move forward from it, that's good. If you let it eat you up and just destroy you and you're negative towards yourself about it and don't move on, then yeah, it's bad. So yeah, I definitely think it's good that if someone shows regret, that's a good thing. But it's how you go about dealing with it.
Yeah.
Is very important.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like nowadays, and this is a weird way for things to happen. Like if a public a public figure is caught doing something, and then they say, "Oh, I regret doing that." Unfortunately, nowadays a lot of us go, "Well, do you really regret doing that, or did you regret doing it because you were caught?"
Now that you're busted for
and you have to do it to keep your publicity and da da da.
Yeah,
I'll tell you this: if you really do regret something, be authentic on that.
Yeah,
and be real about it, and don't let it be a mask off, mask on, mask off situation. Like we talked about in one of our previous episodes.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because that just shows that you're fake. At least to some point.
Yes.
Fake.
The fakeness will catch up with you at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, is people are always like, "Oh, I want to be chipper and happy in 2021 and yay, new year." And 21 has come off to a roller coaster that has flown off the tracks and is headed into the parking lot and is about to explode. And you get the front row seat while you're sitting next to your buddy Dynamite. Yeah. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
So we're about to go into some fun times right now. And here's what I gotta say: in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, what are you doing now that you're going to look back and say, I either regret or don't regret what my start of 2021? Are you doing things where, like, my family member voted for Trump, I will cut them out of my life? You will regret that in a couple years, probably, because you will be a sad, alone, shriveled up little person. But on the flip side, are you also doing stuff? I am going to go protest for Trump and get him into the office by force. You're going to regret that in like a couple months when you're in jail.
Right.
With your cellmate named Bubba.
Bubba.
And Bubba goes, "Oh, good. Make the toilet wine."
Yeah. Oh, no.
And you're like, no. So what you do now, though, will be the things that you regret later on. Because we always think about, I regret what I did in my 20s. I regret why I did that. Mm-hmm. What are you doing now that a year from now, you're either going to regret or not regret starting?
What situations you going to get yourself into?
And then,
what are you setting yourself up for?
Yeah. And then thinking long-term on that, what are you doing now that you're going to regret or not regret 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? Your grandchildren are going to regret or not regret from now. There's a word for that long distance thinking into the future. You know what that word is?
Not off the top of my head.
Legacy. Thank you for joining us this week on Use Your Words podcast. We'll go ahead and finish up this conversation between me and Aaron on legacy and how that relates to regret. We'll finish that up next week. So go ahead and join us next week. So as we finish this conversation, and have a good week.